Let me tell you a story about a man named Elias McGraw, a coal miner from deep in the hills of Panther Creek, Kentucky. Elias wasn't rich, but he was one of those people who carried entire towns on his back without ever asking for a thank you. Born in 1974, son of a miner, Elias grew up believing coal dust was just a part of the air you breathed. When other kids talked about leaving town, he talked about filling his boots and going underground. Elias started working in the mines at 17, lying about his age like half the men did back then. His father had passed from black lung by age 49. His mother worked night shifts at a diner. There wasn't much choice either. Work the mines or watch bills pile up like the mountains. His first day in the mine, he remembered three things: the smell of damp earth, the sound of pickaxes echoing through rock, and the fear, the kind you feel but pretend you don't. But the older miners took him under the wing. Guys like Red Thompson, who could light a cigarette with one hand while tightening a bolt with the other, and Samuel Boone, the quiet church-going type who said a little prayer every time the elevator cage rattled downward. They taught Elias the number one rule: the mine don't care if you're young or strong, respect it or I'll swallow you whole. For a while, life rolled on. Elias married his high school sweetheart, Emily, had a daughter named June, saved up for a little patch of land. Then came 1998. The mine had been cutting corners, cheaper supports, worn machinery, safety checks rushed. Everybody knew it. Nobody said anything in those days. If you complained, you didn't get scheduled the next week. And if you didn't work, your family didn't eat. One morning, Elias felt something off. The air was heavier than usual. The roof timbers were groaning like the mountain was adjusting its weight. He told Red, "We shouldn't be in this section today." Red nodded. "I know, but orders are orders." At 10:42 a.m., it happened. A roof fall. Not a little cave-in, a thunderous crash that shook the ground like a small earthquake. Dust blasted through the tunnels like a storm cloud. Elias was lucky. A support beam tilted just enough to create a tiny pocket where he and two others survived. Red didn't make it. Neither did Samuel. It took 11 hours for rescue crew to dig them out. When Elias saw daylight again, he said two things: "Thank you, Lord, and I ain't letting my daughter grow up thinking this is the only way." After the accident, the mining company offered quiet settlements, hush money, if you will. "Sign this paper, take the check. Don't talk to reporters." Most men took the money. Elias didn't. He stood up at a town meeting in front of executives in clean suits and said, "You'll replace machines, you'll rebuild tunnels, but you can't replace Red Thompson or Samuel Boone. And if you don't fix these mines, more families will be burying their fathers." People clapped. Some cried, but the company, they blacklisted them. No work, no income, and a brand new baby boy on the way. But Elias didn't stop fighting. He drove to Frankfort twice a week, talked to inspectors, talked to lawyers, even talked to reporters who drove in from Lexington. He wasn't doing it for revenge. He was doing it for the next generation of miners, boys who hadn't stepped foot underground yet. In 2001, the company finally got hit with a massive safety violation. Millions in fines, forced updates, mandatory inspections, and the person whose testimony hit the hardest, Elias McGraw. He didn't get rich, didn't get famous, but he made the mines safer. People said he saved lives of men he'd never meet, and finally, after 3 years, they let him work again. He returned to the mine with his head held high. Fast forward to 2017. Elias was 43 years old, still strong, still steady, but time in the mines wears a man down. Coal demand was dropping. Talk of closures floated through the town. Some men panicked, some prayed. Elias just kept working. He always said, "Whatever happens, I'll face it when it comes." One cold November morning, the superintendent called everyone into the break room. "The mine is shutting down," he said. "Tonight will be our last shift." Silence filled the room. Not anger, not shock, just the weight of a chapter ending. That night, Elias clocked in one last time, ran his hands across the old wooden beams, listened to the echoes of years' worth of laughter, sweat, and fear. As he rode the elevator cage up for the final time, he whispered, "Thank you for letting me walk back out." When he stepped into the crisp Kentucky air, he didn't look sad, he looked free, because he had done something most men in Panther Creek never did. He left the mines with his life, his health, and his pride. Today, Elias works as a handyman, helps his kids learn trades, tells stories on the porch about the days when coal dust stained your clothes darker than midnight. People stopped him in town, shake his hand, thank him for standing up when others couldn't. He isn't a hero in a comic book. He's something rare. A Kentucky man who survived the mountains and made sure others could too. If you all like this storytelling, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you and have a good day.